Hey guys, what is up? So I posted on YouTube asking which of my strokes should I put in slow motion, and the most common answer was my forehand, my serve. So I decided to do forehand because I think there were a couple more individually for the forehand, and there's a lot I can talk about the forehand being my best stroke. I think technically solid as well, but forehand is the video that we're gonna do. So I have a clip that is in a regular timing of me hitting forehands during a rally, and I also have a slow motion version of that same clip, and I'm just gonna keep talking and going through what I have, talking about my forehand as this happens. Okay, and we might watch the clip a couple times so I can get a couple points through, but there's not really going to be a structure, and I hope you guys can just like listen and take a couple tips away. So my forehand backswing is pretty compact, which I'm really happy about. It's not compact to the point where it's like there's no room for me to swing, but enough where there's enough space for me to get under the ball and hit. Now you're gonna notice that my hands, they come out together with my shoulders, with my hips. If you guys look at my mouse here, you'll see that my hips and my body, they're all lined perpendicularly to the baseline, and then perpendicularly, is that even a word? Perpendicular to the baseline. And my toes are also pointed to the side. You can't see my toes in the video, but that is something that is very important because it allows me to turn my hips. Now if you guys remember the regular timing of the shot, you're gonna realize that when I have it in slow motion, you see the wrist lag a ton more. But let's just go back to the regular time, and you're gonna see that the wrist lag isn't as obvious, and that the wrist lag is only coming through because of how I'm initiating my body. The wrist lag is really normal or natural, and I'm not actually trying to lay my wrist back and my racket down. It just happens. Okay? Alright, so we're back at the beginning of the slow-mo. I'm actually not going to skip ahead to the other slow-mos because there's a lot to talk about. One simple tip, if you guys want a simple backswing, just get your hands out this way. Just get your hands out together, put your racket and your left hand kind of in a straight line just like this. And you're going to see that my racket, there's nothing special, nothing crazy going on. My racket is just right there, as natural as I could possibly get it, and my hand is not too high, too low. It's at a comfortable position right there. Okay, that's just what I try to do with my strokes. I try to simplify them as much as I possibly can. You'll notice from there I drop straight down, and this hand never gets behind me. The only time you're gonna see it go behind me is if I'm pulled really out wide to the ad side, hitting an inside out, which I need to line up that way, so my body's going to turn extra to get that inside out. Now here I'm reaching for a ball, but you'll see my body actually initiates the lag, even though the whole time my racket's trying to catch up, and that's how it should actually feel, is that your hand and your racket are catching up, not that you're so open that you can't bring it back. So I'm actually initiating the lag, right? But when I make contact with the ball, my racket's not so open that my arm is way behind where my shoulder is when I'm hitting. Notice my head. So this is a really good one. So I'm inside out, right? And I'm backing up. But notice my head and my leg, they really, when I'm hitting, it's like a pillar. I'm rotating around that point. I'm not letting my head really come off that point, which is really important because it allows my racket to still go towards the ball. And then you see that when I pivot through, my hips rotate through, my right leg will follow it in because I'm getting my weight back into the court even though I just moved around to hit a forehand. So 2 points, my head and my rack and my legs. You can draw a line through it and it's going to be the same the entire time. Let's watch this in the normal timing. Watch my head being still and the rest of my body is rotating around that point, making sure my racket goes through the point of contact. So one other really important thing that I want to talk about is right here is about when I've set, right? Now, I haven't initiated or anything yet. You're going to notice that when I'm going to initiate, my racket just goes down and forward. I'm not going to bring it bigger as I initiate and then try to swing. So my turn is already complete and then it goes down and forward. I see a lot of people when they want to hit, especially when they want to hit hard, they get to this point and then they're about to hit and then they take another backswing with another turn, with another body turn, or they load their hips again, which is going to mess up the timing for shots that are too fast, and it's going to complicate things because you're loading and then you're loading again, which means when you load it the first time, you didn't load enough to start with. So if you have to do that for every ball during points where the ball is not going right to you, it's going to be a huge problem. Now let's talk about my follow through, where let's see, my follow through is usually around my shoulder height, and for different people with different grips, this doesn't really matter that much. The only important thing is that your hand goes all the way forward and as much as possible. Like this is as much as my shoulder or as my arm can stretch, basically, right? You don't want to stop here. You want to go all the way through. So no matter how high you follow through, just make sure your hand goes as far as you can, because if you cut it short, you're going to decelerate and it's not going to allow your racket to go through your contact as much as you want. Let's go back to the beginning slow-mo. Pay attention to my racket face. So racket face on the drop and on the backswing is going to be different depending on your grips. And some people, they like to turn their wrist out a little bit more. Those things are slight differences between people. I wouldn't say that there's always a right or wrong. For me, I like to just have it simple. I don't want to have this out because I don't want to twist it back and hit. But some people that they feel like they can hit harder, spinnier that way, that's totally fine. I'm able to accelerate like this, so it doesn't really matter for me. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to my racket face throughout, basically right before I hit and all the way to my finish. You'll notice that you can really see that almost the same oval shape the whole time. Like you can almost see the whole racket face the whole time facing where I want to hit the ball. Now this is one of the most important things if you want to have a consistent stroke. Besides having good timing, this will allow you to not have to time the ball as well. Because if your racket face is there and it stays the entire time where you want to hit, then even if you're a little bit early or a little bit late, the racket face will carry the ball where you want. But that's really the only part that matters, is when the ball hits the racket, is your racket facing the correct way. Okay, even on this inside out, I'm going around it and look at my contact before I hit the ball. Racket's forward, forward, forward. This one flips a little bit, but that's okay. For the most part of the contact, which is like, I don't know, let's see if you guys can see, like this far my racket is going to be how I want it the whole time. Now, you don't want to flip your wrist over because that changes the racket face. You'll notice, one thing that I focus on is having the palm the same all the way through, and then you can follow through like that. You just come over like that instead of turning it in like this or going like this. Now you don't want to go like this. I saw a video of Patrick, Serena's old coach, the guy with the really long last name. He says a lot of things that are right. He also said this one thing that was crazy. I couldn't believe he said it. He said the wrist should go like this. There is not, I don't know anybody whose wrist goes like this when they hit. It worked out for his students because when he told them to hit it like this, their wrists got looser, and then it just went, it was just able to go like that better. Because if your wrist is loose, then you're gonna be able to accelerate. The ball's gonna be much more comfortable. You're gonna be able to go like this better. But you don't bend it. You don't do this. You do this, the ball is gonna go over the fence. Okay, and in that video, in his demonstration, the ball went to the back fence. So have a loose grip. Have a loose grip, have a loose wrist. Just let it go. Keep the palm forward and let it go. Don't do this, because if I do this, my racket is now facing the wrong way, and I only have a split second to time that ball correctly. Okay? Anyway, yeah, this isn't a hate video on him. I was just so confused as to why he would... I get the point of that video is to have a loose wrist, but the way he said it, I think a lot of beginners or people that don't know tennis are going to take that advice and totally go the wrong direction with it. The guy also says a lot of weird things, but I mean, he's got good students, pro students. I can't say much about it. Did I talk about everything I could about my forehand? I feel like I've been talking forever. But here are some points that I'm playing. Let's talk about this first. My footwork is terrible, but that's because I don't play points anymore. I usually just hit. And you'll notice that I take a lot of stutter steps after I hit instead of just planting and going straight back. That's because I'm trying to minimize impact on my legs. Like, I just don't do that kind of training with my legs anymore. So on shots where I have to go out wide and hit, I'd rather just stutter and get back instead of just take all the impact on my hips. And you'll notice that I do a lot of reaching and just like getting my hands there and hitting. As this goes on, I start moving a little better, but I mean, if you don't move all the time, your movement's not going to be good. Even though movement is probably, when I was playing, movement was definitely my strong suit. Yeah, I just use my hands to play now. But on days that I'm able to hit, like, my core is stronger than it was in college and my upper body is, so I'm still able to do some stuff with a racket that works out. Yeah, like that, you know, like my feet end up so close together, but that's because I just don't want to get hurt. I don't train hard enough to break that hard, and I don't want the impact to go to my hips. But as this point goes, like, it's not a match, it's a groundy game. But I get lower and lower as this goes on, which is a good sign for me. And just notice my forehand, everything is basically the same. I just turn straight and I hit. You want stuff that you can replicate on a moment's notice in both your strokes. I'm so tired. Like, I was seeing stars by the end of this, and it was only like up to 10 or something. I was seeing stars by the end of the ground stroke game. But yeah, you'll see a lot of my My forehand is really simple. I really like the stroke. This isn't bragging, but I think I've just simplified it enough to where like I really wouldn't change much in my forehand. You know, like I can just get better at hitting my forehand by getting stronger, improving my physical aspects instead of my technique. And that's kind of where you want to get to, where like you feel like your technique isn't the reason that you're missing, or your technique isn't stopping you from doing certain things. Your stroke you can just improve your stroke as you get stronger and faster. So I think that's where my forehand is at, which I'm pretty happy about. But I just thought about something else. You look at how far I'm dropping under the ball. So this is really important. Let's go to the slow-mo. So look at where the ball is, and my hand is getting under the ball. Both the hand and the racket have to get under the ball. Some people you're hitting, only your racket is under the ball, and your hand is still up, and you just try to dip your racket under the ball and hit topspin like this. You need both under the ball, okay? This is really, really important, because if only the racket is under the ball, no matter how high you aim, your ball is going to go down, because your hand is like this, hitting the ball. This also allows your racket face to remain how you want it to be when you're going through the stroke, because if your hand and your racket are not really together, then you're really just relying on the racket face to like hit it up like this. You want both kind of in a cohesive unit. Like if the ball is low, just get down and hit your stroke. Just do your whole stroke, but everything is lower. You know, that's kind of what you want. On a lot of these shots, I'm standing straight up because I don't bend my knees anymore or that much. But as you can see, my hand still gets down there. I'm still hitting. If I was to be competing, I would be getting a lot lower for these balls. So I could really take the force of the rotation that I'm trying to impart. But here I'm hitting pretty chill, so I'm still able to do a lot of these things and stay in control. When the point gets crazy and you're running back and forth, then you're gonna have to get low, or else you will inevitably just come up and you won't be able to stay down off the rotation. I just rambled on about my forehand, but I didn't want this video to have too much structure. So I hope that you guys could have picked up some tips, or maybe I reminded you about something that you already knew, that you're like, oh wait, yeah, I forgot about that, I should add that into or I should start working on that again. Or you can just, you just wanted to see my forehand in slow motion and you got it. Even if you didn't want to learn from it, this is what I wanted to post, and if it can help you, great. And if you guys have any questions about my forehand that I didn't talk about, I could go on about strokes for days, and I know like a video that was a couple minutes long isn't going to cover an entire stroke. But if you guys have any questions, just comment down below and I'll try my best to answer them. So yeah, hopefully you guys got a lot out of it, and that was my forehand in slow motion and me talking about it. I hope you guys have a good day, and as always, peace out.